We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Lindsay, Patterson, Mike Santagata here. Whew, Mike, quick breath. It was a close one at times. I don't know if I want to say close. It was just ugly at times, but a win is a win for the Cincinnati Bengals. A couple things I want to hit on really quickly. Orlando Brown Jr., he was questionable, then downgraded to out.
He didn't play.
For the second half. Seemed in good spirits. Zach Taylor talked to the media after the game, and Geno Stone, I do want to note this too. We had an air cast on towards the very end of the game. Unfortunate friendly fire with his own teammate and Von Bell. Hopefully Geno and Orlando Brown Jr. are going to be okay. We'll have more when we record, more than likely on Thursday's podcast when we do our preview to look ahead to the Philadelphia Eagles. If we have anything on Tuesday, we'll talk more about that. Obviously, the Browns are without their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Kevin Stefanski said after the game that it's more than likely an Achilles injury for him. He's out for the season. And he was out for some of the game.
Yeah. Well, I hope Orlando and Geno can come back. I mean, even Geno, I saw something like he's walking and it seems like he's in pretty good spirits. So that's crazy for what it looked like and how long he was on the ground getting air cast and everything. Orlando, no idea. He's never missed a game in his I don't think he's missed a game in his career. So if he can play, I think he will. But yeah, all the Browns people are actually coming out and defending Deshaun Watson about the booing. And I feel like there's two minds on this. You have the one mind of players, and they are with this guy. He's working, he's grinding, he's with them. You know, you become like a family. So you have Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston and even former teammates. I saw DJ Reader and you can see Greg Newsome, all people just taking to social media or interviews or whatever and trying to defend Deshaun Watson. But the other mind is the fan base. And I'm on two parts of this because a lot of the fans that booed him, they're booing him after doing the, give me a massage type of thing. And year one, when they thought he was going to be real good. So like, I don't care about those people. The people that I felt bad for Browns fans for like the past, however many years this has been, because I don't know what I would do if that happened with the Bengals. Like they trade for some guy who has 20 something sexual assault cases and then give him a fully guaranteed largest contract in the league. And you can't get out of it. Like some people deserve this. The Browns front office deserves this. And then the injury, I have never rooted for an injury, but I could say I did not feel bad when he was on the ground. And I don't feel bad if that ends his career. He doesn't deserve to play. I mean, come on. We're talking about a guy with all of these. The NFL individual investigation, she said he probably did it. He should go to rehab, but I can't overrule what the court said with the not guilty verdict. It's simply there's enough doubt that you can't convict him. But on the other end, look, you're talking about a guy with the best lawyers in the world, and I don't care. Whatever. I didn't care he went down. And then the offense did get worse. DTR. Thankfully, Kevin Stefanski, I think for the first time this year, put DTR as the backup instead of Jameis Winston, because I'm pretty sure Jameis Winston would push to win that game. I mean, he was throwing that ball. As good as the Bengals defense played against the run again this week, just like they did last week, you see the cracks in the armor when it comes to the pass defense and just balls that land a little bit out of reach. Or in Winston's case, those balls start getting completed a little bit and they move down the field and scored a touchdown. So that was all my thoughts on that. You can say whatever you want to.
I don't really want to spend a lot of time on Deshaun Watson, to be honest with you.
Sounds good.
I'd like to move on and talk about the Bengals win. Like I said, it wasn't a pretty win. It was ugly. But at the end of the day, when you look at the game against the Patriots, when you look at the game against the Commanders, when you look at the game against the Ravens, you look at the game against the Chiefs, and you think about this offense. Even Joe Burrow talked about it. He's like, we put up 30-plus games, and we've lost those games. So we didn't put up 30-plus, and we still won the game. And that is credit to the defense. And yes, this game, it's an AFC North game. It's just ugly sometimes. It really is. And they've struggled with the Cleveland defense. The defense is good. We can talk all we want about their record, but they've always been a threat to the Bengals offense. Felt good to get that monkey off their back and get a win in Cleveland. I know they couldn't do anything offensively. And look, it's going to get tough when we look at the matchup versus the Eagles and other games along the way for the Cincinnati Bengals. And they'll see Cleveland again later this season. But overall, I'll stay right now, and we'll talk about the defense. Then we'll flip over to the offensive side. The front, putting that pressure on them. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns offensive line has struggled a little bit this year, and the front benefited, and that's good for them. Trey Hendrickson is an absolute animal. Good to see. And honestly, Geno Stone, it felt like he's kind of getting in his groove a little bit. He got that interception, so I really do thoughts to him. Hopefully he can get back out there and everything's okay. And if it's just maybe a short amount of time he has to miss, to be determined. We just don't know the full outcome of his injury. But I agree with you. Pass defense, still some concerns, but stopping the run is a positive for this defense right now when it comes to some of these running backs. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought early on, I'm like, Chubb, he's going to just run. He's going to have his comeback game. They're playing in Cleveland. He's going to be able to just be a monster out there. And he had a really good block on one of the plays when Deshaun Watson was out there that actually helped them get a first down. And that was
almost a Miles Murphy sack, but that was
he's so likable. He's such a likable person. I know he plays for the other team, so it's always really hard for me when they face him because I'm like, man, he's such a good dude. But yeah, they're finding a way to stop the run. They got to work on the pass defense a little bit. They're getting healthy when it comes to their front. I know you're going to go back and you're going to watch the tape. Let's look at some of those rotations of what they're doing that have health on their side. Miles Murphy with a huge play in the end zone too. So there's been a lot of positives on the defensive side after talking about them so much in these games. If they would have had one stop in the Commanders game, you look at the game against Lamar Jackson, he went absolutely off on them. And even in the Kansas City Chiefs game, I felt like they played okay at times. But it's good to see that confidence for this team, even though it's against the Giants offense, even though it's against the Cleveland Browns offense that had 3 different quarterbacks play today. I'm still feeling a little bit. I have to see more when they have a huge test coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles and that offense overall and their weapons on Sunday. So there's things to clean up on the defensive side of the ball. But I also feel like we can take some positives away too, because look, when the offense can't get something going until the second half, it's good to have a defense that you have a little bit of confidence in.
Yeah, I mentioned cracks in the armor, but at the end of the day, they had a really good performance. I do feel like they got bailed out and how bad the quarterbacking was the entire game. I know you could look at the Deshaun Watson stat line and be like, oh, okay, yeah, he completed a bunch of passes. He was checking the ball down like 3rd and 12 for like 4 yards. I mean, yeah, you should complete all those passes. It was probably his best game, though, to be honest. I don't think it was good, but I thought it was his best game probably. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson just doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. I don't know how he was put in as the number 2 guy over Winston, but again, that saved them because I think Winston would really challenge that defense. Hopefully they can keep it going against the Eagles, who have been kind of up and down offensively themselves, but we'll get into that later. I was very impressed with the pass rush in this game, the coverage up and down, the tackling. I do remember a few times being frustrated that they come in so high on the tackles and go for strips, but then they don't get any, or then it goes out of bounds. You're like, God, okay, that doesn't matter though. So I want to see them get low and just make good tackles sometimes. So that's a little bit frustrating, but they did wrap guys up. I don't think they missed tackles. They just allowed guys to gain 3-4 extra yards when they made contact a lot of times. Offensively, I think is where we could have the meat of this discussion. Why do they always struggle against the Browns? And to me, the first half was the same as like the last 5 games. The Browns have 3 very physical and talented corners. And it is probably the only team that not only can take it to T. Higgins, but also Jamar Chase. And they really out-physical, out-muscle, outplay these wide receivers. And then the second half hit. And T. Higgins has an awesome run after catch touchdown. And T. Higgins did have that really nice catch over the middle of the field where he's kind of like laying on Martin Emerson's back. And for some reason, also officials always let those Browns cornerbacks play in these games. They do not care about the grabs, holds, whatever. And then when DJ Turner got called, I was like, come on, well, at least let it go both ways. Like, but either way, Jamar Chase had that finally got a back shoulder touchdown against, I think that was Greg Newsome. So they finally started hitting the big 2. And like I said, with the Yoshi thing, was like, who else could have a big game? I went with Gesicki, but it was nobody. Nobody else had a big game. It was hard to point out. And Chase Brown on the ground, there was a couple opportunities, but another Volson holding penalty takes one back. And then he did get some stuff in there, but it really felt like the Browns controlled the line of scrimmage in the run game, especially in that 4-minute drill. The biggest thing was just the 2 wide receivers stepping up and having a big game. I think there's a lot to be frustrated about because Joe Burrow never plays against this team like he's a top 5 quarterback. You have questionable play calls all throughout the game. You have a questionable. I hated that change at the line of scrimmage that Burrow did to audible into a run play on 3rd and 7. That's like I'm taking away your rights to do that type of thing. Like you can't be audibling into a run here. What are we doing? You have to throw. It's 3rd and 7. 2 yards does not matter. This Bengals front 5 is not going to get you 7 yards. It's not like a surprise 7. It was inside zone. It wasn't even something that was surprising. It was like their most common run call. So that was frustrating. Play calls are frustrating. Like why you finally get singled up man coverage and you're throwing a one-on-one go ball to Andre Yosivach against Denzel Ward? No. Why? It makes no sense. Denzel Ward had a heck of a game breaking up a couple of those passes. But yeah, that just makes no sense to me. It feels like Jim Schwartz just has a beat on what this offense wants to do. But even when this defense wasn't particularly play called or coached that well under Joe Woods, they always stepped up for this Bengals game. They care. They want to win this game. They love this game. So it was fun to finally see the Bengals wide receivers and offense pull something together in that second half, at least the third quarter, I guess I should say, early fourth, and give the fans something to be excited about because the first half of that game, that was brutal after the Charlie Jones kick return touchdown, which I didn't even mention. What a kick return. I'm going to watch the film on that because I'm really interested in all the new kick return stuff. I haven't been interested when they stunk at it, but now they scored a touchdown. Like, all right, let's see what happened. What'd they do?
That Drew Sample block was absolutely huge.
It looked like ISO. It looked like ISO. Like they got Drew Sample ISO'd up on a guy. He makes a heck of a block, and then he's gone. Is it a run play?
Well, even Charlie Goldsmith said they were changing that up a little bit by putting Drew Sample out there, and it absolutely benefited. It was awesome to see, and I agree with you. It honestly feels anytime they play the Cleveland Browns, it gets terrible to begin the game, and it never starts off okay. And then they were able to get a 100-yard touchdown by Charlie Jones, and great job by Charlie Jones by staying in bounds and obviously getting his body controlled to get to the end zone. Fantastic job by him because I just talked about Charlie Jones recently on the podcast. Somebody actually tweeted me. They said Charlie must have listened because I was down on Charlie Jones. I said, put Jermaine Burton out there, change it up. I'm wrong. Well, we'll see. We'll see Charlie continue to play that way. And it was obviously good to see for him. But overall, I mean, I agree with you kind of on the offensive side of the ball. Their stars made plays, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in the third quarter obviously changed the game. I thought I understood it at first towards the end of the game when I felt like, okay, the Bengals are going to win this game, even if the Browns go down and score, which that happened. Thought, they'll get a field goal here, or maybe they'll be really aggressive and try to get another first down and get closer and maybe score a touchdown here and really put the game, make the game over. But at the same time, it's just something that they struggle with. And honestly, we could say that all season long, they struggle to keep the lead. Put the pedal to the metal. Keep your foot on the gas. It's okay to win by multiple scores if you have control of the game. I get trying to be a little conservative there, but it cost them a missed field goal by Evan McPherson. 50-yard is not a cheap shot, and obviously he missed a 53-yarder, and I know it was a botch kick against the Baltimore Ravens in overtime, but you're not putting your kicker in good position. You're not putting your team in good position just to end the game. So offensively, there were moments where I'm like, oh, I like those back in the first half, but the Stars did what they needed to do. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, that's just another reminder they've got to figure out a way to pay both in the offseason and not to talk too much about contracts, but he had himself a game. There was only one play from T. Higgins that I was like, oh, I wish he would want it back, but it was against an athletic corner. And the corner made a great play. He made a great play. Denzel Ward made a great play on it.
Ward play. That's just tough.
It was a tough to come down with it just for how good he was playing.
Thought he had it. Yep, thought he had it, and then Ward was able to knock it out and almost come away with an interception.
It was a great play defensively.
Yeah. What was interesting from what I could tell on broadcast was just that the Browns are like the most man single high cover one team out there, and they played so much of that first half in zone coverages, and I just don't think the Bengals are ready. Like I think the Bengals went into this game thinking, okay, this is a team that we should be prepared with all our man beaters. And Jim Schwartz just threw a ginormous curveball. He was like, okay, what if I just don't play man in this game? Can you still win? And they're still playing physical. They're still getting into guys. They're still pushing them around. They're still playing really good at the catch point, but they're not playing man coverage. So it was very apparent to me on short yardage. And they were like 0 of 6 on their first 6 third downs, and they missed the fourth down. That's where it was most apparent to me, because those situations are even if you're not a big man coverage team, that's like an 80% man down. Like, you're going to get man coverage across the board because you can't give up a shallow first down like that. And they still played zone. And I think that messed with them. I think the Bengals, they got into a bunch. They don't really run bunches very often. On that fourth down, they got into a bunch. They ran a switch release. They had a guy running across the field, a guy sitting down, and the Browns just handled it perfectly. That's what I mean by, like, Jim Schwartz just has a beat on everything. I'm sure if I go back, maybe the backside one-on-one to Chase is there, or maybe the alert corner route is there. It's what it looked like, or maybe a deep out, whatever it was. I think it was Gesicki on that. But the actual part of the play that is supposed to be the answer for what you're looking at wasn't there. So that's why Burrow ends up taking a sack. I would like him to just toss one. I mean, it's fourth down, dude. Just toss one up to Chase. That is the effort. Jamar's down there somewhere more than any situation, because he picks it off. You probably gained yards. That's great. Sack is the worst situation because you're losing yards, giving them extra yards. You don't have a chance to overcome it. So I just think this Browns defense is a very difficult matchup. I'm glad they got their wins in the second half, but at the end of the day, you get out of there with a win, you play some good defense, and you do enough on offense. I think that's what you should hope for when it comes to facing this Cleveland defense. And I know that's very frustrating as a fan to just go like, but this offense is so talented. But when a defense is built, like almost built specifically to stop what you do, and you don't have the pieces to take down what they aren't good at, I don't know what you do. And they always get up for this game. Like, I genuinely think that's a big part of it too. It's just that they are so amped up and ready to play this game that they always come in and they have the game of their lives.
There was a couple things in that game, and I agree with you, but we actually said it in our preview of the Cleveland Cincinnati game. I think we both agreed it would probably be a pretty low scoring game.
We were both 20s to teens, so that's what it came out to, 21-14.
It was a pretty close game, and honestly, at the end of the day, I've watched so many almost wins this year against really elite opponents, and I'll take an ugly win against the Cleveland Browns any day of the week. It's something that they haven't done since 2017, is win against the Cleveland Browns and Cleveland. Get that off your back, and you move on, and you prepare for a huge one. And this team's still looking for that first home win of the season. Hopefully Mike brings good luck when he's in Cincinnati next week when they take on the Eagles. Should be a good one. Should be a good one. There is one thing I want to say about there was a play. I'm so annoyed about it. Is the flag they picked up the
uncatchable because he got held. Like, if he's just running without being held, does he catch it? I don't know, but I don't think it was so far. Like, to me, that would be out of bounds. If the throw was out of bounds, you pick up the flag. It's just being a little far. What? He got held. He was running full speed and got grabbed. What do you mean that's uncatchable? It's uncatchable because he got held. Crazy. The one thing we didn't mention this entire time, though, Cody Ford, bad. Not a good performance.
Joe Burrow is so nice.
That killed a lot of the offense too. And credit to the offense for playing better in that second half. But when Orlando Brown went down, Myles Garrett mostly lines up over the left tackle, and you can give as much help as you want. That is a tough assignment. And man, that is hard. I feel bad for Ford because I don't think he entered this year thinking I'm gonna have to go against Myles Garrett. But I also just feel bad, like, this Bengals offense. The one part of it that you can give them some slack is they had to have their fourth tackle going into the season go up against probably the best pass rusher in the entire NFL.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Hopefully
I agree. But Joe Burrow even said after the game, he's like, I thought Cody Ford did well. I'm like, oh, you are too nice, sir. You are too nice. Hopefully, Orlando Brown Jr., who is playing at an amazing level this year, he's back and he's good to go. He was in good spirits in the locker room. Obviously, we'll know more as the week gets started, but would love to have Orlando Brown Jr. back out there. If I never see Cody Ford, I would be okay with that. But like I said, quarterback gave him some credit after the game, and that's just Joe being nice. Bengals find a way to win 21-14 back-to-back wins. They finally get an AFC win in division, double bonus. And 3-4, we'll see. It's October. Will this team do it again? Go on a nice little run, continue to build off of things and clean up a few things on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Health is obviously a huge key too, and hopefully get really positive updates on the two players that they did lose in the second half of this game. Mike, is there anything last words you would like to say about this game?
Sure. Hope Orlando Brown's healthy. But yeah, I'll be at the game next week, so that's cool. I'll see them in person, undefeated when I'm watching them in Cincinnati. Not in general. I sometimes forget the disaster I watched in Pittsburgh, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I bring the luck to get them back to 4-4. But yeah, if you see me, just come say hi. I'm not going to turn you away.
They are undefeated for a whiteout, a stadium whiteout. So we'll see. They're 2-0. They're 2-0 every time they have it. It's only
I was there for one of those.
And huge opportunity. I mean, this would put them right back at 500.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was there for the Dolphins one. So I was there for 1-0 or 2-0. They're 2-0 in that. I don't think I was there for both. I think I was there for one. I was there for the stripe one last year. Good to know. Okay. I'll wear white.
We're white. We're all white. The stadium, they already have the B and the field white. It should be nice. Hopefully a good time, and Cincinnati can even out their record of 500 after a really slow start to the season, something that we've seen before. What's going to be up on All Bengals this week? I mean, Bengals talk. I will never say that again.
Either one. I am not 100% sure. This is another game that I watched and went, what can I write about? I ended up writing about battle last week, and then this week I'm like, yeah, nothing really standing out so much here. We'll see. I'll watch the film over. Hopefully something pops.
Maybe a Trey Hendrickson appreciation.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Maybe just on the year I could just do a Trey Hendrickson. Like, this dude's awesome.
That dude is insane. And one last thing before we end this podcast, and maybe it was just something really minor. With him, I never know because he's such a warrior. I thought, oh no, Trey, don't go down. And then he gets right back up the next play, and he's just a monster out there. And I'm another guy that I know I mentioned T and Jamar. I hope that guy gets his bag for the Cincinnati Bengals in the offseason. He deserves every penny with the way he's playing this year. And it's fun to see the stars show up because every single star has in a very important year for all of them. And I hope they continue that. If it's ugly, if it's a win, that's all that matters. And hopefully they can continue that. Make sure you check out Mike's work. I'm sure I'll have great breakdowns this week over on Twitter, Bengals_Sands. You can follow me at LNDS Patterson. We will be back later this week to talk film, break down Bengals and Browns, and look forward to the Bengals versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you as always for listening to It's Game Day in Cincinnati.